has any sort of desire to start this kind of thing. I want to start off by saying that I definitely have a really complicated relationship with this whole thing, and there are things that I appreciate about it and have appreciated about it from the beginning. But if I'm being so honest, there really are so many downsides. I'm trying so hard not to get like super upset while sharing this, but if I'm being honest, my mental health since I've started this has just slowly like been on such a decline. And I would say that it started maybe like honestly probably 7 months ago, where about like maybe 6 months into doing this, about 6 months, I started to get super burnt out. And while I did have such a strong start and it was so much fun in the beginning, after getting burnt out, I started to just feel really differently about like the types of messages that I was getting, and just feeling like sort of the effort that I was putting in to it still wasn't, I guess I'm trying to say there's no amount of money really that you can give me at this point, and I'm like willing to admit this now. There's no amount of money that you can give me right now to like make me feel like giving myself away in certain aspects, even if they're just a few photos or whatever online. It almost isn't worth it anymore. It's hard to describe this because I realize that when I have spoken about OF, that, you know, it's typically been in a light where it's like, you know, it's fun, it's art, you make money, blah, blah, blah. But if I'm being so honest, that really is like the only upside to doing it. Like just the ability to very quickly make extra cash. But I think again, like just over the course of a few months of like half a year or so, just going really hard at it, I think I didn't let a lot of like the messages get to me, but I was lying to myself, and I definitely think that it's like really worn on me over time. And it's not to say that I don't have like really good guys on there following me and like monetarily supporting me, even like checking in on me at times where I like, you know, earlier this year I definitely disappeared for a few months, even on here. But even with that, like just realizing that even those people are not people that I would call when I'm having a really hard day just makes it feel just so fake. And I'm not sitting here saying that like I ever got on there to make friends. Let's be honest, it's really just to make money from a bunch of horny men. But I guess I'm just trying to say that just know that if you are a person who's ever been interested in doing this, or if you've like ever been curious about it, there really is just like such a like I feel a little bit dead inside. I feel completely desensitized, and I don't know, like not to sound funny, but I really don't feel any type of like desire or like attraction to men in general anymore. And that's also because of my, you know, my personal collective experiences that I've had with like dating like the wrong types of men and things like that.
Welcome back, everybody. The Talk Podcast, we are continuing. So, trying to understand the mindset behind why would someone choose to tap into, you know, the OnlyFans life, perhaps. And we've already heard her saying that, you know, there are some nice guys who check on her, but at the same time, those are people she wouldn't really want to interact with. So, and I really pointed out that there are so many conflicts that she is dealing with within herself and the choice that she has made. But now understanding that, okay, no, these people, I don't really like them. They're nice somewhat, but still they are the same people who are asking me to do more and more degrading things, right? So over time, she has now gotten so used to this idea of these are the certain men. This is how men present themselves. First, they're kind of nice to you. They talk you into this. Then they ask you to do the most degrading things and put you even down because they think they can pay you off, and that's all. I'm just stretching right now, okay? But all of this led her to seeing men in a complete different way. She lost attraction. She has no desire to interact with men on a genuine way. Now, I need to make clear, okay? So yes, these people who are sending her whatever kind of message, if it's bad, it's bad. So if they're gross, they're gross. But you see, the thing is, you have decided to tap into that world, okay? There are so many areas, there are other places where you can interact with men, where you can get to learn and meet people, where you can make friends, where you can build relationships. But you decided that this is the place that I want to be interacting with people, with men in particular. And you've also decided that this is my choice of income. So now the expectation and the value is really not matching. And also we need to keep in mind that she said she has a pattern of choosing the wrong people, okay? I'm sure someone is going to talk about, yeah, probably she's went through some trauma and bad treatment. I could see that thought process being true. If that's the case, I'm very sorry for her and anyone else. That's very unfortunate. But yet I do believe that we need to be very clear that some or most of the times, the people around us, if they're doing wrong, they're doing wrong. If they're bad, they're bad. I get that, okay? But you see, you put yourself in certain areas. You choose who you're interacting with. You choose who you're giving a second chance to. You choose if you're picking up that call. You see where I'm going with this? Where I'm going with this has nothing to do with blame, because I can see how so many people are going to want to twist this and say, oh, victim blaming, whereas, it's not even what we're talking about. But this has nothing to do with blame. This is actually trying to make clear that you have the autonomy to make choices, right? You can decide. The same way with what I'm trying to point out, you can sit and decide, am I going to ignore all the things that she's saying and pick and choose the nice part? Am I going to ignore at least 7 things that are just on the downside, on the con side of why you shouldn't do this, right? Or am I just going to pick and say, oh, well, but I heard quick money and I heard fun. But I'm going to choose to ignore my mental health is declining. I'm going to choose to ignore the feelings that she's having, feeling dead inside. I'm going to choose to ignore the amount of people that she has to interact with, knowing that she doesn't even want to interact with them. I'm going to ignore the fact that you feel shame and guilt. I'm going to ignore the fact that, all these things.
But I think with this line of work, you will never catch a man being more honest and more authentic and more real, and not necessarily in a good way, than they are and the way that they present themselves to girls who do stuff that I do. I can't even...
Yes, they are going to be very honest, if that's how you want to put it. They are going to show themselves for who they are in that platform, on that platform in that moment, and especially for paying for it. They are going to come across... they're going to come on that platform wanting to exercise and play out their fantasy, because that is what the platform is about. Now, we all can have our own different moral stance to this, but if you think about it, in some way, shape, or form, they have, or someone has created a place where adults can come together and say, these are the things we want to live out. This is our dark fantasy. I'm just going to put it out there, okay? Good, bad, ugly, whatever. It's not just what it is. And you decide to go in there. And they have found their place where they can now finally be who they are. You like it, you don't like it, you understand it, whatever. That's not the point right now. But yet, and you're even profiting off from it, but yet you're sitting there thinking, they are so honest about how they are. Look how crazy they show up. But why are you there? You see? Why are you there? Why are you trying to profit off of that? And that's the problem. You even feel disgusted because it's going to come. You feel disgusted because now you're asking yourself, am I a part of this in some way? Am I supporting this? Am I creating even more of this behavior that she's actually completely disgusted by, irritated by?
Imagine what it's actually like for real life SWs. Like, I'm sure it's like 50,000 times worse for them. Like, at least to a certain extent, there's like a level of protection for me, just given that I'm like behind a screen.
And with all of this, let's add to it, you don't even feel safe. You're telling yourself, so it's bad for you, but with people who do it in real life, who really, into this, for them it might be even more dangerous, like it's worse, because you think you're safe because you're behind a screen. Well, we have all heard on the internet, even like people who are not into that kind of content, there needs to be a level of understanding for everyone, myself included, that you're not always so-called safe, if you want to put it that way, on the internet. Like, if you're not very aware, and if that's not how you're moving to choose that you're very private on the internet, then people who would want to find you are going to find you. And in your case, or a different case actually, we know about at least 3 stories, unfortunately very heartbreaking, from young women who became victim from stalkers and people, actually men who really harmed them. One was even, the worst outcome you can think of, because they did not continue the so-called agreement, the pleasure treatment. I don't know what fantasies they were selling. In one of the case, the stalker, I guess got so obsessed about this young woman, he started thinking that they are actually in a relationship. For the other one, it was a equation of, so I paid this and did that, now you're kind of my property, if that makes sense. Like, completely mad. You do not know who could possibly be behind that, right? And it's, things can go bad with basic online dating, right? You never know. I'm not trying to make this an everyday thing that, this is happening all the time, everybody be scared. That's not the point. But if you then choose to present yourself in that manner, you're just inviting craziness into your life, right?
Right? Like, I'm never actually gonna see these guys in person or anything like that. But seriously, if I had any type of ability to share the things that people have said, the things that people have the nerve to DM me with, just how disgusting they are. And also, I can't even count to you how many times the ones who follow me on Instagram, when I get curious and nosy sometimes, I'll go look at their profile and they have a whole girlfriend or a whole wife. And sometimes, even disgustingly enough, they have kids. Sometimes it makes me feel so conflicted with doing this. And a part of me just feels so prideful. I feel like yes, it's been a year, not 2 or 3 or 4 or 5, but
at this point, I'm sorry, I'm going to use different language. This is not even a twisted mind. This is now an evil mind. Just look at what happened, okay? So you're feeling so conflicted with what you're doing. You're questioning yourself. You're participating in this. You're seeing that these people who are also doing their own wrongdoings, but, that is a moral judgment for, I don't know, I'm not going there. But let's just say we have agreed that they're also doing their wrong, okay? And you are now finally understanding that, I'm participating in this. I actually feel bad about this. These people have families and children. Let's put the emphasis on these people have children and I'm doing this. Maybe you're thinking I could be a mom one day. Maybe you're asking yourself, is this what I would want to advise my younger siblings to do? Whatever the case may be that's going through your head, and you feel very bad about this, right? And in the same moment, you are talking about pride. Where does that come from? And to me, that is very surprising. That is probably the most surprising twist that I really found in this whole clip that she's sharing. And I brought up the question in the first episode, where does your pride lead you to? Now, don't get me wrong, we all have something in life that we've been working on, we've been giving our best, and we've accomplished it. We're proud of our steps that we make. That is definitely beautiful. But I think when someone is too prideful, and it depends on really what you're prideful about, but if your ego is taking control of everything else, right? Your thought process is blocked by your ego because you think of yourself as you are already on top, right? No one could actually tell you anything. It's covering your emotional state, right? It's blocking how you feel. It's like your ego has been put on a pedestal that is now making you to be the slave of your own self.
I do still feel I'm still so deep in it, and I think I'm just being prideful, but I just feel and I just don't want to quit because I'm just not a quitter. I always see things to the very end, and a part of me just feels so prideful. I feel yes, it's been a year, not like 2 or 3 or 4 or 5, but I do still feel like I'm still so deep in it. And I think I'm just being prideful, but I just feel like, and I'm not, I just don't want to quit because I'm just not a quitter. Like I always see things like to the very end, and I really, I won't quit until I'm physically stopped.
Actually, this has nothing to do with me saying it. She's basically saying it in her own way, which is different ways of explaining the same thing, I guess, right? And this is very heartbreaking that you think of yourself. You're so prideful, okay? I just talked about how it blocks your thought process, your emotion, and you become the slave of yourself, right? When you put your ego up on a pedestal, when you start celebrating yourself, and pride can really lead you into misery. Now, she is so prideful, and she is not. Let me tell you guys, there are some things in life, actually a lot of things. If it doesn't serve you, it is perfectly fine to quit. Let it go, right? To uphold whatever it is, to think to yourself, I'm only going to quit until this choice is going to physically break me, right? We're talking about literally the worst outcome, that you want whatever choice you've made to conquer you, to physically break you until you can admit to yourself that, okay, this is not for me. Well, unfortunately, if you really go that path, you will not even be here to tell yourself, oh, this is not for me. There would not be, perhaps, I don't wish this on anyone, there might not be any other chance to say, oh, maybe this wasn't for me. Maybe I should have overthought that, right? This is so painful, it's heartbreaking. So now, why is all of this important? This is important because I'm really trying to understand what are the reasons, how do they fall into this, and my goal is really to stretch out whatever we are consuming. Please be mindful of what the people are saying, because most of the times, right, you watch something, especially all these short clips, and you basically keep in mind what you heard the first few seconds / minutes and the last few seconds / minutes, right? And if we remember correctly, this young lady started off saying, oh, I just want to share my story, how things have been going. I'm not really feeling well. So if anyone out there wants to overthink this or is actually trying to join into this path, I want to let you know how things are, right? And there's some things that I appreciate, but there's some other things that I don't, right? And we learned that the things that she appreciates are basically nothing. And most of the things on the list, or everything on the list, was just devastating, right? But now towards the end, we are still having this same lady speaking to her audience that, you know what? I am not a quitter. I will not stop. We are not giving up. And what message is that sending that to you? Is that sending to a young brain, to someone who's just not that experienced about life, to someone who takes this and really actually sees the positive in it, because they might really just, have glanced over, unfortunately, all the other red flags. They might just think, yeah, you know what, I just need to keep going. Sometimes things are tough. All these other girls, they had to also struggle. Perhaps they had to ignore all the bad treatment. They had to ignore all the negative comments. They had, you keep telling yourself that because you look at her and you're like, look at her. She was down at some point. She had a strong start. And now she's down. But you know what? She's not quitting. It's going to be better. Keep telling yourself this. And that's why I think it's so important, why we all together need to be talking about this. I know some people do not agree with me. They think, ooh, why are you talking about this? Let them do whatever they want. I'm letting this person do whatever they want. I have no way, shape, or form interest to hold this person and tell them, do I wish better for this person? Definitely yes. But, it's not in my power to start shaking people's life in that sense. But I believe genuinely that this topic is important, and I'm going to keep talking about this. If other people agree with me that this is important, join me and let's just talk about
this being like my one creative outlet to or so I thought, to express myself and produce this work that I'm really proud of. I do take a lot of time to go rent these spaces and like get like certain types of outfits and like our lingerie really and like do these shoots and like post them, and like editing is like a whole process. And like there are lots of parts that I enjoy, but I think what ruins it is like when I really sit down to think about like ultimately like
What do I know? I think even if you have fun, yeah, dressing up with lingerie, whatnot, doing the shootings and acting and all these good stuff, I don't really think that you need to go down this route where you need to start degrading yourself, where you need to start putting yourself at risk. I don't know. And also, if you had a fun relationship, maybe you could just do this, have intimate pleasure with each other. I don't know. What do I know? I always keep saying that, but you see, the pro list is just not matching up the con list. In my
what the
perspective, it just
purpose
doesn't
of
make
all
sense.
this is, and it's really just to visually please a bunch of men who, again, a lot of them are disgusting. I've been sort of exploring the idea of maybe just having my content be focused on, things that I'm actually